innocent, Hal. You only have 1,000 episodes of too many movies left in you before you die.
Oh no! I better make them good ones then. Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Hal, and with me here today, Anthony. Introduce yourself.
Hello. I'm Anthony. You know, I like stuff like watching movies, talking about them, talking about some bad ones, some good ones, you know, the usual type of stuff. And, yeah, I'm excited and happy to be here.
I'm sure you are. Well, I have the other CampyCast host on the podcast.
Yeah, we're thinking about getting on, like, together or separate episodes, but, you know, it's nice to be here for these two specific movies that I never thought I would talk about together.
Oh, well, great. Okay, well, I'm going to let you introduce this first one because that's your fault that we watched this.
Sure. I guess we'll get right into it. Norbit, that's our first movie today. Yeah. So when we were talking about this episode, I was like thinking of the most random thing that we could like recommend, like random thing I could talk about with someone, because I could have talked about this on CampyCast at some point. I would have to convince Brian to rewatch it because he's seen this film before, but. Yeah, I randomly like saw this film and then I literally just looked at the poster. That's like all I knew about it. I was like, wow, what a poster for a movie to have. Wow, like who came up with this? And it was very interesting. And then I found out that both of the characters on the poster were played by Eddie Murphy, and I was like, oh God. So from there, I just like thought about this movie for a while and was unsure about like ever talking about it. And then I just, like, when we were thinking of ideas for this episode, I was like, why don't we do Norbit? You know, why don't we do Norbit for some reason? I finally get a chance to watch it for some reason.
Yeah.
So,
this would be a perfect episode for you and Brian to do. I'm very much looking forward to the eventual Norbit episode.
Yeah, but at the same time, I thought it would be even funnier if I just recommend it to someone else and got him to watch it for the first time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the main reason why I chose it.
I totally get it. And you know what? I'm glad we watched it. So
yeah, it's a very interesting movie, and I can't say I was surprised with how it ended up being, but
no. This was not shocking in the least.
Yeah.
So my experience with Norbit is that I remember when I was like my early years on Twitter, and I would like frequent like film Twitter, and there was that, I don't know, do you remember, I don't know if you were ever on Twitter, but there was that that account called like crazy letterboxd reviews or something like that, or like unhinged letterboxd review, something where like a dude would just take screenshots of people's letterboxd reviews that are weird and just post them on Twitter.
I don't think I've heard of that actually.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like, or it was called like Lebertoxd reviews or something like that. But I feel like I remember this dude, the dude who ran that account, had like this weird obsession with Norbit. I think ironically, I'm like 99% sure it was ironic. But he was just, you know, and then you look at like the reviews for this movie on Letterboxd, and a lot of them are like, you know, 5 stars, like greatest movie ever made. You see that a lot on Letterboxd, where people will take like these 2000s comedies that they grew up with and they gas them up so much.
Might be due to nostalgia, probably in some cases, for those who like unironically try to defend it or something,
or just like movies that are so unhinged and out there and just so terrible that you get enjoyment out of just watching them or experiencing watching them with friends. Like, you know, we do that all the time with my group of friends, and we like watch bad movies together sometimes.
It could be fun, you know?
Yeah. And so I was very much interested in finally seeing this movie because I feel like it does have that kind of like irony cult to it. So, yeah. So let's start with the beginning.
right off the bat.
Well, actually, but before we get into that, I just want to mention. So I watched this on Amazon Prime, and it advertises that this movie was an Oscar nominee back in the day.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that. It actually was nominated for Best Makeup,
which is really funny because that means this is like the second movie. The second awful movie to be nominated for an Oscar for makeup, because remember that's what Suicide Squad was nominated for back in 2016.
Oh my god, yeah, that's true. I forget that was nominated for that. Oh
actually,
my god,
because I think it says that Norbit is like a nominee, but Suicide Squad actually won the Oscar for best makeup.
Oh wow. Yeah, what do you know? Same with shit like Cruella winning that makeup thing, you know?
Oh, did Cruella win?
I swear it won. Yeah, it won, I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember.
It won something. Actually, no, I think it was costumes, actually. But
maybe it won costumes. Well,
I don't know. Sometimes get mixed up with those categories.
Because you don't, because like, who cares? It's just not to be mean. Look, there's some really good costuming out there, but if you're nominating shit like Cruella, that tells me you do not care. So,
yeah, it's and frickin' Norbit in this case.
Anyway, yeah, put Cruella off to the side. We're talking about Norbit. Okay, that's the topic for today.
Yes.
So anyway, right off the bat, the movie starts with Eddie Murphy narrating that he's Norbit. He's like this orphan that was abandoned by his parents, and the way they abandoned him is
he's a loser.
They throw him out of the car, and he just, as a baby, and he rolls up to this like orphanage that's both an orphanage and a Chinese restaurant. It's just
I thought that was interesting.
Well, that's the thing with this movie. It has a lot of concepts that the writers think is really funny. And then you actually see them in practice, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, because then we're introduced to one of Eddie Murphy's many characters in this movie. Because yes, Eddie Murphy does play Norbit. He's the main character, Norbit. He also plays his fat bitch of a wife, Rasputia, who we'll get into later.
Oh my god!
But he also plays a third character. He
plays the guy who runs the orphanage.
The Asian man who runs the orphanage, Mr. Wong.
Yeah, I did not notice that. Like, honestly, I feel like that might just be why it was nominated for makeup, because it was like transforming him into Eddie Murphy into a completely different race.
No, so let me be clear to the people who don't realize this. Eddie Murphy is black and Mr. Wong is Asian. So
very interesting decision.
So and this movie came out in 2007. So it's like you'd think they would have known better that back then, but I guess not. I guess they thought, well, if a black man's doing a racist interpretation, it's not really racist. It's like, no, it's still racist. It's still bad.
Like, come on, it's still a weird thing to do.
And he goes the full mile with it. He every time here's the thing. He's very inconsistent with his voice, because every once in a while he'll whenever there's a word with the letter L in it, he'll replace that L with an R, but he won't do that all the time, so it's very inconsistent. I guess he just does it when he thinks it's funny, when it's not funny at all.
His character is always also a racist, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's that one scene towards the end where he just admits, he's just like, yeah, I'm a racist.
It's so weird, because it's like during what's supposed to be emotional moment, and then he just admits that he's a racist. Well, it's so weird.
Well, what's funny about that scene, and I say funny in huge quotations, is that, this character is just blatantly racist throughout the whole movie. And then there's that one moment where he's just like, you're black, you run fast. And that's when Norbit's like, that's kind of racist. And it's just like, first of all, this movie has no moral high ground to talk about what is and isn't racist when it's full of black stereotypes. And Eddie Murphy playing a blatantly racist caricature of an Asian man, there is no moral high ground. Secondly, that's what got him to say that's racist an hour and a half into the movie.
It's so stupid. I'm pretty sure he also said that Norbit's pee-pee size was the size of an egg roll, so that should that should say something.
Yeah, exactly.
About this movie's sense of humor, I guess.
Oh, so it's very much like you know how, like, you know, there is that stereotype where people like look back at 90s and 2000s comedies as like super raunchy and super offensive. And
Yeah.
to an extent they can be, but they're not. I don't think they're as bad as people say they are, because like a lot of these are, you know, just one scenes in movies. I'm not saying that makes them okay, and I'm not saying like, you know, they should be excused. I'm just saying, you know, I feel like it is a bit of a stereotype that like a lot of comedies from that time are like this. Norbit is that stereotype though. This is where it's like, okay, yeah, no, I get that. Like this is that kind of like 2000s comedy where like, you know, the joke is stereotype. Like that's the joke, you know?
That's the joke here, and there's also a lot of fat jokes made with the female character,
Well,
Rasputia.
so yeah, let's talk about Rasputia. So
oh my god!
So she's not the title character, but she is the character that takes up the most space on the poster. So
that's true. That's true, and pretty much like every poster this movie has, probably.
Yeah,
I guess
it's an excuse for Eddie Murphy to be this black woman stereotype. This like raunchy, big, you know, both literally and in personality wise, this very big character.
Yeah, it's very exaggerated, just the way he performs her.
Yes.
So like, yeah, that's what adds to it.
And it's really interesting because so in the beginning of the movie, Norbit and Rasputia and Kate, they're all played by actual children. But then by the time they're played by Eddie Murphy, and when Thandie Newton plays Kate later on in the movie, like they feel like different characters. Especially Rasputia. Like when Rasputia is like this small black girl who's like this teenage black girl who just like approaches Norbit, and she's like this sassy black woman. I'm like, okay, I don't know, like she's sassy, but like she's obviously a teenager. She's not a great actress, but like she's fine for what she is.
There's some bad kid acting in this movie.
There's some really bad kid acting. Yes, but she's not the worst kid actress, the little girl who plays Rasputia.
Yeah.
But then it hard cuts to them on their wedding day, and then all of a sudden Rasputia is played by Eddie Murphy.
That's so weird.
But like
I think
she doesn't seem like the same character that we were introduced in the beginning. Like she doesn't seem like the adult version of this child you introduced. It's
so bizarre.
It's really weird, and I mean I get it because Eddie Murphy, you know, Eddie Murphy's not going for authenticity. He's going for what he thinks is funny, and a lot of it is just him just being like, "How you doing?" Like he says that a lot in the movie, as if that's like the catchphrase that's going to catch on, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's like because I don't. Why is Eddie Murphy even playing this character? Is it because funny? Is that why? Is it because it's funny watching him be?
Yeah, I think people like. Well, I have no idea, but I'm just spitballing here. There was that movie back in the 90s where he played the Nutty Professor, and then like there was the Nutty Professor 2 where like he played like his whole family.
Really? I didn't know that.
And there was, and like, you know, Eddie Murphy was in a bunch of fat suits in that movie. I think they wanted to capitalize on that, but without making it another Nutty Professor movie. He just wanted to make, I don't know, I guess he just wanted to make another movie where he plays a fat black woman.
Yeah, that's a weird thing he likes to do, I guess.
I guess, like, yeah, I don't, yeah, no, because like you watch this movie and you're like, what is the appeal here? Like, why is it called Norbit outside of the fact that that's what the main character's name is? You know,
I don't know. Yeah, when I was gonna watch this movie, I thought there was like I thought there was gonna be a different reason for why it was gonna be called Norbit, but then it's just the main character's name.
Yeah,
but like. Yeah, is it because it focuses on Norbit and his relationship issues with his wife and how it's how he's in an abusive psychotic relationship with this woman who is just a complete lunatic in every way, and that's the joke.
A lot of the jokes in this movie are that like, oh, you know, Norbit's in this abusive relationship, which first of all, what a wild concept to make into a comedy. But because, you know, it's not the guy beating up the woman, it's the woman beating up the guy, that makes it funny. It's like, oh, good.
That's hysterical, yeah.
Yeah, wow, you really pulled the old switcheroo there. Now it's all of a sudden funny.
I hope I hope the writers are proud.
Yeah. But then like the whole movie is just like, and then he meets Kate, his childhood best friend, And that's when the movie's like, oh, now the story is that he wants to be with this woman instead of his current wife. And it's like, oh, so the movie's about committing adultery, but you're rooting for the character committing adultery because the character he's married to is such a horrible person that you want to see him end up with this other woman. It's like, yeah, Rasputia is horrible. But like, you know, it's the same reason I've said this before, and you know, I'm not that this is like the movie's biggest problem, but like, I don't like when movies make antagonists so evil to the point that like you have no choice but to root for the protagonist. Like,
yeah, it's like a very lame way of making a character sympathetic, and like this movie definitely does that in some way, because like you just feel a bit off about Norbit's decision here, and the only reason you're cheering for him in this case is because how just much of an irredeemable psychotic monster Rasputia is. So just by default, you have to cheer for him now. That's like the only reason.
None of these characters are characters. They're setups for jokes that Eddie Murphy thinks is funny. You know, it's kind of like Family Guy, like later Family Guy. You know how like in later Family Guy, it's kind of hard to view these characters as a family. You know, like
because they're not a family; they're just a bunch of just idiots who are forced to live together and all hate each other.
And they all have like all these different like jokes setups and jokes that they have, and it's just like, yeah, this is it's just an excuse for the writers to tell jokes. They're not characters, and it's like, okay, fine. In that case, fine. Are the jokes funny then? No. Like that's the other problem is like, so, and that's something I noticed with this movie is like when it's trying to be quote unquote serious, you know, it's bad. It's boring. Especially in like the latter half of the movie where they have like a bit of a third act breakup and liar reveal thing. Like, I don't know, it kind of combines a couple of those.
Oh my god, that is such a
it kind of combines a couple of cliche things you find in third acts like that, and obviously it's all awful. Like, it's not written very well. And like, you know, you'd probably be willing to forgive that kind of stuff because it's so obvious that the writers are more so focusing on the jokes, in which case, okay, fine. I'm okay with movies that focus more on the jokes than they do the story. You know, I have a great example of how you can make that work. UHF, the Weird Al Yankovic movie. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Well, I won't spoil anything because I highly recommend everybody go watch that. But that is a movie that definitely puts its jokes and humor above, you know, any semblance of a story. But the reason that movie works is because the story is still just so simplistic and the jokes are actually funny, you know, because Weird Al Yankovic is actually funny, that, you know, it works. So, like, even though the story is not the greatest and most original thing in the world, you're still having a fun time because the jokes and humor in that movie are so funny that it makes up for it.
Yeah, because if like the story, because there's like a lot of comedies that I don't think like that I don't love them because they have like an amazing story. I like them because the overall jokes and antics makes the characters enjoyable, and overall just makes it like work better. You know, like funny humor in comedies can really carry a movie and make you enjoy it despite the story not being like mind blowing. You know, it makes it work.
Yes. Whereas here, the story is so bad because you're not rooting for any of these characters because, well, the characters are there to tell jokes and the jokes are bad.
Yeah.
So, really there's no cycle here. It like everything's broken, you know, like this is why this movie doesn't work. Nothing about it works. And I was thinking about this because, like, you know, at times I was laughing at the movie, not because the movie earned a laugh, but because I was laughing at how much it was failing at trying to make me laugh.
Exactly. Yeah. I was, it's like, But for me personally, I was like laughing at it quite a bit at first, like the stupid scenes of like where Rasputia just like jumps on the
Yeah,
bed with Eddie Murphy. Like
yeah.
that scene looks so, and then they're just wearing different costumes to celebrate different hall. It's really fucking stupid, but it's genuinely kind of funny.
I was
Like
laughing at that. Yes.
ironically,
Yeah.
definitely. Like it's a
Exactly.
stupid joke to do. Like haha, sex.
Yeah.
But still,
Exactly.
it's like. But then after a while it starts to get old.
After
Like
a while, yes, it does overstay its welcome. Well, this movie is nearly 2 hours, and
I
like
know.
that.
I was like zoning out near the end. I was like, "Oh my God, how long is this conflict going to go on?"
Yeah, and look, I'm not against long movies. I've made that like I want to make that exceptionally clear. I'm not against
Yeah.
long movies, but when a movie doesn't warrant its runtime, that's when I have a problem. And so,
Hmm.
you know, seeing this movie go on for 2 hours when it could have easily been 90 minutes, that frustrates me because, I'm all for the wacky antics. I mean, well, okay, I'm not for these wacky antics because a lot of them are just straight up racism, and I'm not for that. But
Yeah.
if you're going to have these horrible, horrible jokes in the movie, make it 90 minutes, man. Like, then it'd be
Yeah.
a little more bearable.
Yeah, I
Um,
was surprised when I found out this film wasn't 90 minutes.
yeah, because you'd think this movie would be like peak 90 minutes. Like this would be
Mhm.
the perfect 90-minute movie to just put on and then you forget about like the next day. But no, it went on for 2 hours, and it's like
I know. It's
that's
like it's
that's why
exhausting.
I'm not really with the irony crowd on this one because, you know, again, it takes up way too much time in its serious story, that it doesn't take seriously because it's too busy thinking about the jokes. But the jokes are so awful that, there's not enough to it. There's not enough. There's just not enough to make it worth watching again. Like that's the thing is like, when I think of my favorite ironic failure movies that I love rewatching, stuff like Morbius, stuff like
Yeah.
Faust, like those are movies that I could rewatch again because they're such failures, but like they're just so funny in how they fail. Like I
Yeah.
get enjoyment out of watching those movies in a group setting because they're just so funny. Whereas Norbit, like I can see myself getting enjoyment within like the first half an hour and like occasionally throughout the movie, but there's that
Mhm.
stretch between the second and third acts where it's just like, just end already. Like it's not funny
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, it's like the drama that kind of like annoys me. Like going back to the third act breakup, it is done in such a stupid fucking way.
Yeah.
So basically, Kate, and basically Norbit is locked in the basement by his wife. So
Yeah.
now he's just like forced to stay there and clean it because Rasputia's pissed at him for cheating on her.
Even though
But
she
like
was
at this,
cheating on him.
yeah, yeah, I guess. But like, I think I know that's like the point because she's such a
She's a
bitch to
hypocrite.
the point
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, and then Kate comes over, and then like they have a discussion, and then Norbit just like out of nowhere just starts to say, "Oh, I hate you. I love my wife." Yeah, yeah, and for some reason she thinks that he's being serious. And
Yeah.
it's like really fucking stupid.
Yeah,
It's so
she
dumb.
she only thinks that because it's the third act or it's the beginning of the third act, and it's like that's
Exactly.
when you have that moment where the characters don't like each other anymore, and it's like, ugh,
Yeah, I feel
like
like she wouldn't be this stupid to the
no.
point where like it's really contrived
Well,
and
the
dumb.
movie hypes her up as the smartest character in the movie, and yet she's
Exactly.
still falling for this. Like that's not good writing. That's not good character writing. That's just you're writing the characters around the story rather than writing the story around the characters, which is what you should be doing. Oh, it's
Yeah.
just so stupid. And a lot of the jokes, again, going back because I want to bring up this joke because I just found this weird. So they're at like this weird like summer party thing. And Rasputia's like chasing a couple of kids, and she goes into a bounce house,
Oh my
and
God,
she
that
jumps
scene,
on
yeah.
so hard on the bounce house that a kid gets launched. It's like, okay, I can see that being funny. Like, that is kind of funny. And the kid just like launches, like, that's funny. But then the kid lands in like a haystack, and she's right next to the pimp characters that are played by Eddie Griffith and Cat Williams.
Yeah, those characters, another case of like stereotypes where their whole joke is that they're pimps.
Yeah,
and,
they're pimps.
That's the joke. Like, they even interrupt like freaking the wedding near the end of the movie to talk about like shit with woman and love and condoms. It's like, it's really fucking bizarre.
Well, because like one of them goes when they see like the little girl like fall into the stack of hay, one of them goes like, "It's raining little white women," and the other one goes, my prayers have been answered." Which, first of all, what?
What? Excuse me?
Like, that's a weird thing to say.
That is a weird ass piece of dialogue. Yeah.
But then the other one goes, "Well, she better move because I prayed for a Cadillac." And it's like, okay, that's funny. But can we go back to that first thing the guy said? Like, what do you mean your prayers have been answered?
By that?
If it was a regular woman who fell and then he's like, "My prayers have been answered," then that's funny. But it was a child who fell. So the joke is weird now.
So uncomfortable. Like, I don't know why they thought of that joke. Like,
was the joke supposed to be that you're supposed to feel uncomfortable when he says that? Because
is it a joke that this man would literally like do anything for a woman? Is he just like
even a child? Like,
anyone? Like, even a child? Is he like attracted to any woman? Like, what is happening here? What's the joke?
It's so confusing, and that's like where the movie, like, those are the kinds of jokes that the movie makes up. Like, and then you have like the obvious jokes, like when Rasputia goes down a water slide and lands in like a pool of water, and then there's no more water in the pool. You know, okay, haha, she's fat. Like, you know, those jokes make sense to me. This one doesn't, you know, like, and that's this movie. There's jokes that make sense that are not funny, but they make sense. And then there's jokes that are not funny, but then don't make sense. You know,
exactly. It's like, it's just weird. It's such a weird fucking movie in every way. Just a lot of it is just very like dumb with the conflict. Like, I think the villains of this movie are supposed to be Rasputia's brothers.
Yeah, and then, Rasputia and her brothers are the antagonists of the movie. Which sometimes they get some funny scenes, like at the very beginning when we're introduced to them, and he's like handing everybody like different parts of the chicken, and then Norbit's just like, "What do I get?" And he's just like, "Turkey ass." Like, that did catch me off guard. My brain broke when I saw the turkey ass. I started laughing uncontrollably. I was like, "What the fuck am I looking at?"
The turkey ass.
And then that turkey ass comes back later when Rasputia suspects Norbit's on a date with Kate, and she breaks into the Italian restaurant. They're like, "You know, come in here." And she's like, "Where's Norbit?" And he's like, "Norbit's not here." And she's like, "Well, then who was eating the turkey ass?" And then there's just a turkey ass on the table. And they're like, "Run!" It's like, okay, that's kind of funny, but just because of how absurd it is. Like, that's the thing. If the movie was a lot more condensed and the absurdism would be one of the reasons why I kind of like this movie. Like, I would never say it's a good movie, but it's one that, again, I would put it with the likes of Morbius or Faust, where like they're so terrible, but I get enjoyment out of watching them because they're so terrible, because they're such failures. But no, this isn't even that fun of a failure for me. Like, it's just straight up a bad comedy from the year 2007. So
yeah, another thing that kind of like annoys me with this, going back to the whole like stupid relationship drama of it all, is that basically Kate's fiance is revealed later to be like an asshole who is like cheated and duped multiple women.
Oh
And
yeah,
I feel like that just came off as a very lazy excuse so they are allowed to be together. Like, oh, let's make this guy an asshole so that way she doesn't. That way it's fine that she cheated on her husband because you know,
now it's okay that Norbit's going after this married woman because the husband is an asshole. It's like
husband. It's just stupid.
We gotta make Rasputia and the husband and the Lattimore brothers like so unbelievably scummy and evil that you have no choice but to root for Norbit and Kate. And it's like, again,
it's annoying. I don't like when movies do that. It's such like
because again, Norbit is not a fun character. He's pretty bland, all things considered. Kate is bland, attractive woman. Like, don't get me wrong, Tandaway Newton, very attractive woman. I think she's very hot in the movie, but she has no character. She's just nice. Like, you know, like she's just common decency, the character, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And also I just feel like Eddie Murphy, like in all his roles, just feels like so off. Like even in his role of Norbit, he's trying like so hard to find like shrill and like with it all, and it's just awkward.
Yeah,
like
no,
it's all just weird.
It's extremely awkward and not funny. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
No, at least not funny in the way the movie thinks it's funny. Like, again, I'm laughing at the movie for being so awful, but I'm not laughing with the movie for actually coming up with these ingenious comedic bits because they're not genius.
It's not genius at all. Another thing I do kind of want to mention here. I find this like part in the opening kind of funny. I don't know. I just feel like bringing this part up randomly. But the scene where like Norbit's parents literally just fucking throw him out the car is just it's like one of the funny moments in the movie to me.
That's like the first joke of the movie where he's just like, I bet my parents care very deeply for me. They just couldn't provide for me. And then it just shows his dad just like throwing the baby out the car. And you're just like, oh, haha, he threw the baby out the car. You don't do that with babies.
Yeah, you can't do that. That guy probably had brain damage. Maybe that's why he married Rasputia.
Right.
After the baby.
Yeah.
And another thing about the conflict that's just like weird to me is I'm just kind of like unsure of why Norbit is even like with Rasputia, because it doesn't seem like he's that like afraid to stand up towards her, because there are moments where like he shows an actual reaction for her cheating on him. So it's like and I feel like at first I was like, oh, he's with Rasputia mainly because like he doesn't want to break her heart, because her brothers basically threatened him at the beginning of the movie. But like later on, it doesn't even really seem like he's that scared of Rasputia, and like I feel like he could easily just bail out of this marriage if he wanted to. I guess
it's a very piss poor setup to have them together. Like, I don't know, they need to be stronger characters, but they can't be, because then they can't tell these wacky, hilarious jokes, you know? Like, that's what the writer's thinking. They're just like, oh, if we actually develop these characters, then they can't tell these wacky jokes that Eddie Murphy really wants to tell. So it's like, there's just nobody wins. Nobody wins when watching Norbit.
Nobody wins. And another thing I want to mention is that like I find it funny, just weirdly funny, that as soon as Norbit realizes that he can like start to form a relationship with Kate again, he just completely forgets about like Rasputia and even just lets the yoga guy sleep with her, and it's like really stupid. And I find it funny that the movie just forgets about that halfway.
A lot of terrible people in this movie.
Everyone is kind of an asshole.
They're all awful.
Like the movie in this case is trying to make adultery like not that bad. You know, like it's stupid.
It's one of those morally reprehensible 2000s comedies where you like look back, you're just like, yeah, no, this is horrible. Now, do I think that means we should like ban it and say like, oh, we can't let anybody see this? It's like, no, it's just a bad 2000s comedy with very morally reprehensible themes, but I don't think the movie is like condoning these things. I think the movie's just too stupid to realize what it's doing, you know? Like it's not a matter of malice, it's a matter of stupidity and ignorance, you know? Like that's all it is. It's just a bad 2000s comedy.
I also find it really stupid and for some reason like during the climax of this movie where like everybody just randomly because they were so inspired by Norbit standing up to Rasputia's brothers that they all just decided to like work and fight against them all of a sudden. And then Rasputia gets freaking stabbed and then just starts running like a cartoon character, and then they just go to Mexico or something, and it's like, what?
Oh yeah, she gets because Mr. Wong, remember at the beginning, Mr. Wong loves whaling because he's Asian. Even though like that's well, first of all, that's such a confusing stereotype, because isn't the stereotype that Japanese people are whalers, when like I'm pretty sure Mr. Wong is supposed to be a Chinese stereotype. You know what? I don't even know. I don't even know if the movie's smart enough to know that. I think they were just like, haha, Asian stereotype whaling. Like that's the connection. But anyway, then at the end, he takes a fucking spear and throws it right at Rasputia. It hits her right in the asshole, and he goes, haha, right in the blowhole. And it's just like, oh, ha,
ha, ha, ha, ha. Yeah. It's just such a weird fucking ending. And then they're together, and then the other guy runs away. And in general, the whole conflict of this movie is basically, I think Kate's fiance, who I forgot his name, but basically
Cuba
they're
Gooding
working with
Jr. That's the actor is Cuba Gooding Jr.
Okay. He works with Resputia's brothers to take down this orphanage so they could turn it into a strip club, basically. And that's like the main conflict of it. And this is like a weird just thing to happen and like to add to the stakes. And it's kind of like a weird thing to add. Like we can't just have just I don't know, like what's the point of this part?
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
it's like a weird thing to put in as a conflict.
It's
Also,
so strange.
Yeah. And also just like everything about this movie is just like it's just a stupid fucking movie if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, it's
like
it's not funny.
I don't know. No, it's not funny. It's just like it's just stupid and the relationship drama is dumb and contrived. And another thing that I found weird about this movie's plot is that near the end, Norbit just gets this random letter in like his mailbox,
well,
and then
so,
I guess it like
yes. So the subplot, as I understand it, is that he's in the hospital after getting thrown out of the window by Rasputia. No. He was in the hospital because Rasputia throws a speaker on his head during the...
And they just don't address what Rasputia did to him. That was
no, it's blatantly in public, but she throws a speaker on his head during the party that they have in the middle of town for some reason. But he's in the hospital and he sees a commercial where that guy's just like, yeah, do you suspect people of being not who they are? Background checks. Call us now. And I don't know. I thought he was doing background checks on a different character, but then at the end he's just like, no, he's like, I did a background check on Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, and we're just like, oh, okay.
I think he just did that because he was petty and really wanted to be with Kate, which is kind of a stupid thing for him to
Our
do.
main character, everybody, petty.
He's so likable. And yeah, I actually forgot about that commercial thing. I don't know. Maybe that's when I started zoning out in the movie.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you at all.
Yeah. Like I was unsure about the letter, and I was like, "Wait, where the heck did that letter come from? Didn't I miss something?" And then I was like, "Oh."
Again, it's a part of the real story in the movie. Again, real story in quotations. Like, again, you're just supposed to be focusing on the jokes. So, but like, as we've established, the jokes aren't funny. So
yep. What do you know? A film with the poster that you might see when you search this film up, is exactly what you expect it to be, and it's kind of it's basically what I expected.
Well, my poster is a parody poster of Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, but it says Stanley Kubrick's Norbit instead.
Yeah. There's also a Taxi Driver one as well, which I find funny.
There was one that I'm pretty sure is a parody of The Wall poster.
And
it's just, but it's just Norbit's head, and then it says Norbit, and like I believe it's supposed to be The Wall text, but it's so abstract. I don't think anybody would have gotten it. Like I'm only assuming it's a Wall poster parody. I don't even think anybody would get that, but I decided to go with the Clockwork Orange one because I love Stanley Kubrick, and I just think it's funny seeing Norbit's face like holding the knife that Alex holds in Clockwork Orange.
It was a very interesting experience. I guess I felt a happiness that I finally watched this movie, I guess.
I know, 10 out of 10. I'm glad we watched this movie. It's the best movie we've ever watched on the podcast.
Easily. No contest.
Yeah. Just a couple things I want to mention. Obviously, another thing I remember, whenever I hear Norbit, I think of that Yukino Joe video, where like it's a video called Eddie Murphy, and it's this guy going like, Eddie Murphy, you have 1,000 movies left in you until you die, and he's like, oh no, I better make sure the good ones then. And then it hard cuts to a gravestone that says Eddie Murphy, star of 1,000 Norbit sequels. So
yeah, I saw that video that you put in your Letterboxd review. Yeah. I thought that was.
And one of the top comments of the video of that video is Norbit 739 is highly underrated in my opinion.
That's funny.
And then the other thing I want to bring up is the movie was directed by Brian Robbins, and the
director of Good Burger.
The director of Good Burger, yes, but also he is the main kid in the movie Chud 2: Bud the Chud, which is one of our favorite movies we've ever discovered during Wheel Night. Because we watch this, let me tell you, I need to make a Chud episode at some point, because when we watched the first Chud during Wheel Night one time, and we all hated it. We thought it was so pretentious. We thought it was so boring. It was bad. And yet it has a cult following. Then like a couple months later, we landed on Chud 2, and we're like, oh, I guess we have to watch this now. But we loved it. We loved Chud 2, Bud the Chud. Like, That's all I'll say. I don't want to spoil anything because I need to make an episode on it someday. But the main actor, the main kid in that movie, is played by Brian Robbins, who eventually, yes, went on to direct Good Burger and Norbit, and in 2021 became the actual, I'm not fucking joking, CEO of Paramount. He is now.
Oh my god!
He is the CEO of Paramount. At the time of us recording this, he is the CEO of Paramount. The director of Norbit is running Paramount.
Oh my god! I had no idea.
I know, which is so funny. You'd think Norbit, because you'd think this would be a bit of a career killer, because you don't see Eddie Murphy as often anymore, and that's because in the late 2000s he had stuff like Norbit and Meet Dave, and I think there was like that weird movie called like 1,000 Words. I don't even remember, but like, I don't know, there's like this point in time where Eddie Murphy was just making bomb after bomb after bomb. And so then for like a good chunk of the 2010s, you never saw Eddie Murphy. I assumed he died at one point because he wasn't in anything anymore, but now
he's barely in anything.
He's kind of making a comeback now.
Yeah, I think he was in like some Christmas movie on like Amazon. I don't think it was on Amazon. It was like somewhere.
It looked bad. I didn't watch it, but yeah, apparently I think he's making a bit of a comeback. And you know, I hear rumors of Shrek 5, so I'm sure he'll be in that one. You know,
yeah. Also, like a donkey spin-off movie, but I have no idea what's happening with that movie still.
I mean, unless it's like Puss in Boots tier, I'm not interested. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I just think that's funny that, like, you know, this could have been a bit of a career killer, but the director went on to be the CEO of one of the biggest studios in Hollywood. So
yeah, what do you know?
Life isn't fair.
Yep. This is where he's at now. This is where this is how. What a career change.
What a career
Good
change.
for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was Norbit that got him that spot on Paramount.
Of course. Yeah, the board of directors at Paramount were just like, he was in Bud the Chud and he directed Norbit. Put him up there. This guy will make all our decisions now.
That's really what happened. Yeah, that's totally what happened.
Well, is there anything else we have to say about Norbit before we wrap up our discussion on Norbit? I have one other thing I want to say, and that is, you know, whether I want to keep it on Blu-ray. Because I don't own it on Blu-ray. I assume you don't either?
No.
You're not blessed with a Norbit DVD in your Pantheon collection,
unfortunately, no.
Yeah. Well, I'm also there, and I don't think I will add it. Like, I was genuinely considering, like, as I'm watching the movie, like, throughout the beginning, I'm like, you know, this could be like The Happening, or Showgirls, or Faust, or Morbius, where, like, you know, it's a bad movie, but I want to keep it because it's so entertainingly bad. But then it just kept going and going, and it's like, no.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me, and why I wouldn't like have it on Blu-ray, solely because like I just don't have any desire to rewatch this again, despite some of the laughs I had with the stupid jokes. Like there were some dumb jokes that we've mentioned that actually got a laugh out of me.
Yeah,
ironically,
but like
yeah.
I would probably rather rewatch those on YouTube on their own than actually sit through the entire movie. You know?
Yeah, it's an interesting experience, I guess.
It
And
was
who knows?
It was interesting to watch for once, like once through, and to say that, hey, I've actually watched Norbit. Like now I can
Yeah,
say that. But yeah, no, it's not enough for me to be like actually want to experience it again.
yeah, same here.
I highly recommend people check it out just to be like, hey, I've seen Norbit, but outside of
Yeah,
that,
who knows? Maybe you'll find it more funny than we
yeah.
did, but who knows?
All more power to the irony crowd on this one. They clearly love it. I'm glad. I'm just not with them.
Yeah, I'm glad I finally watched Norbit.
Yeah.
Now I could die a happy man.
But before you die a happy man, we have to talk about our next movie. Anthony.
Yeah.
So you wanted
you
wanted to recommend Norbit. I wanted to recommend a random DVD in my collection, just because again, it's my podcast where we talk about the DVDs and Blu-rays and occasional VHS tapes in my collection. So I wanted to talk about Pathfinder, a movie I have on DVD because the slipcover kicks major ass. Like it is so cool, and for folks who watch the YouTube version, they can see I usually like take pictures and show like the DVDs and stuff that we talk about. And so the DVD I have is called Pathfinder Unrated. I watched the unrated cut, which I don't know if you watched that version.
I pirated this movie. Yeah, I know. Shocking.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I realized that like pretty sure the runtime was like extended how it was on Letterboxd, so I think I might have watched an extended version of this movie,
which is probably the unrated version.
Yeah, maybe. I might have watched the unrated version. Honestly, I couldn't care less which version I watched because I couldn't care less about this movie.
It's not a good movie. It's it's not
really.
Very good. I think I respect it a little more than Norbit just because I was expecting a piece of shit with this movie. I think only one person I follow had watched it before I did, and that was Silver, and they rated it like what, a 3 out of 10, and it's like, yeah, no, I'm expecting something pretty bad here. And I did get something pretty bad, but I didn't get something worthless, like I got something that
terrible.
No,
I guess.
There's some things I like about this movie.
Yeah,
but let's get into it. Yeah, but let's get into it. So again, I think the DVD cover is probably the best part about it. It just looks really cool. It starts off on the DVD with a bunch of generic 2000s trailers, which I think the trailers got me more hyped for those movies than the actual movie for this movie. Like I don't know, the trailers were for these movies called like Day Watch and Night Watch, and I was like, holy shit, like these everybody look up these trailers on YouTube for Day Watch and Night Watch. Like they look kick ass, dude. They probably are terrible, but they look really cool. Like I really want to see these movies now. And then when I watched Pathfinder, I'm just like, oh, I wish I was watching Day Watch and Night Watch.
Yeah, I thought it was like just a very lame, low energy action flick.
Very much so.
Get much out of it.
Well, so let's start things off by saying this is from the same director as the Friday the 13th reboot.
Yeah, that's like the main thing I knew going in, and I haven't even seen that movie or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And yes, he directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot. He directed a Conan reboot. At first, I was like, okay, so what is this his first? Is this his only original movie, Pathfinder? But no, I found out This Pathfinder is apparently a remake of a Pathfinder from the 80s. So
really? There's an 80s version of
this?
It's
like it's from like 1987. It's also called Pathfinder. I think I don't think it's about Vikings and Native Americans. I think it's about Vikings and Eskimos, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. But like regardless, this is also a remake. So the director mainly handles 2000s remakes.
Quite an experience. I feel like you can tell this guy's like this guy's like style based off of just how the posters are lit in some way.
Yeah,
like I feel like you can almost like gather that from the posters.
You can tell. Yeah, he excels in making generic edgy looking 2000s movies, which for
I
something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that awful 2003 Texas Chainsaw movie, that's just awful. I remember hating that movie. I don't remember hating the Friday the 13th remake. In fact, I think that's probably his best movie from what I've seen thus far is the Friday the 13th reboot.
That's sad.
Yeah, no, look. I mean, I'm probably exceedingly nice to that movie. I won't argue it as a good movie, but it is definitely his best.
Yeah.
But even still, like, I think Pathfinder was better than the Texas Chainsaw movie he made because, I don't know, there's just things I can respect about this movie. Like the violence and gore. Now, this movie, I watched the unrated version, and this DVD loves bragging that this is like, so it also has a sticker on the front that says unrated extended battle scenes too intense for theaters, and it's like, whoa.
Oh, so I think I might have watched the unrated version as well,
because there was a lot of blood and gore in this one, which I'm all for. I am a sick fuck. I love violence and gore in movies when it's done. I don't want to say tastefully because I love Faust, and that's not done tastefully, but you know, like I love when a movie is willing to take risks and actually show that kind of violence, you know, because it's like, all right, you're making a movie, like, be out there, be creative with your kills, you know, don't limit yourself, be creative. And to this movie's credit, this movie's very little credit, it does take advantage and have some pretty neat deaths and some pretty neat gore in this movie.
Yeah, I'll admit that this film is like has some like decently cool shots in some way, and I feel like there's like some interestingly cool sequences on paper, and I've like, I don't know, some of it is kind of unintentionally funny for me, which I'll get to later.
Dude, that's another thing. The unintentional comedy in this movie is very impressive. I was laughing at times, probably harder than Norbit, which is sad.
Really?
So, well, let's just say like what the basic story is. So Pathfinder, well, I don't know, what does the back of the DVD say? I need to read the back of this DVD.
Yeah, just read that.
Oh wait, I want to mention this quote. So you know how like DVDs will have quotes on them? So
yeah,
I remember when I had Brian on, we talked about Salt, and I talked about the Salt DVD and all those fucking awful quotes on those. So here's one.
Oh gosh.
Pathfinder sets a new standard for adventure and fantasy, from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.
What?
Yeah, this is definitely a new standard for fantasy movie. Okay. Anyway,
I can tell how much people talk about this movie. You know, they just won't shut up about Pathfinder.
Yeah, everybody won't shut up about Pathfinder. I mean, come on, it's Pathfinder.
Guys, it's not that good.
Oh, anyway. Experience a new world of graphic, hardcore action with this unrated extended edition of Pathfinder, packed with extreme battle footage not shown in theaters, plus an army of kick-ass deleted scenes and special features. Savage Viking invaders bent on death and destruction clash with the iron-willed protectors of a new world in the heroic action-adventure filled with intense battle scenes and breathless primal violence. It's like, holy shit, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to watch this movie. 2 hours later, wow, that was a letdown, you know? Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this movie's kind of boring.
Oh, it's so boring. Let's get that out of the way. That's one of the biggest problems with this movie. It's boring. Not only is it that, it's also ugly. Like,
it's way too dark a lot of the time. Like, there are some scenes that I feel like could look cool if the director just like could have, you know, just made it less dark, you know, just like told people to like give this movie like, I don't know, there's so many scenes that are just like overly dark, and I feel like it ruins some like potentially cool shots in the movie, and it's like it's just annoying. I think there was like I can't really name a specific scene because this movie is slowly fading from my memory as I speak right now, which should really say something about the quality of this movie.
It's times like these that I'm glad I have this podcast, because now I can finally complain about things that I've wanted to complain about for years. I hate when movies are too dark. When they have when the lighting is so terrible that you can't see what's happening. I hate that in movies. I've always hated it since I was a kid, and like movies would have like really dark scenes where you can't see what's happening. I hated that. I was like, complaining, because like I never saw people complain about this whenever I would talk about movies with people growing up. Like they would never complain about this, and now I have the opportunity to complain about this. I fucking hate that. Oh, it pisses me off. And I know people will probably argue it's like, oh well, you can't have natural lighting in these movies because, you know, it's ancient and, you know, you can't really see what's happening because there's no lights on. It's all fire. It's like, no, that's not an excuse, because guess what, you know, in the movie The Northman, the Robert Eggers film from 2022, there's plenty of complete... Oh, it's so good. There's so many scenes in that movie that take place in complete darkness, but you can still see what's happening because, you know, Robert Eggers is a director who knows what he's doing, and he knows how to shoot a movie. Like, yeah, no, crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah,
I hate bad lighting in movies. It takes me out so many times because then I can just see my reflection in the screen. It's like I can see my lamp in the reflection. It's like, well, you're taking me out of this experience because the lighting is so terrible. It's
exactly. It's like ruining so many like potentially cool sequences in action.
Yeah.
And while I still think there are like some like it's like uniquely shot in some places, it just like ruins a lot of the action scene, which this movie has a lot of.
Yes.
And not to mention the story and characters are very like I can't tell any of their names, literally.
No.
I just know that the villain is played by Clancy Brown, and you could sometimes hear his Mr. Krabs voice.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So let's talk about the basic story, because the back of the DVD did not tell us the story. I mean,
because the creators didn't even probably care about the story.
So,
they just wanted action.
The basic story is that Carl Urban, the main character, is played by Carl Urban, who, you know, listeners remember, he was the main character in Dredd, a much better film that we've talked about on the podcast. Anyway, he plays a Viking who's abandoned as a child and gets he gets adopted by this tribe of Native Americans, and then basically the whole movie is like, then he grows up to be Carl Urban, and he's like the only white guy in like a tribe of Native Americans, and then these Vikings come and kill his tribe, and then he's trying to save another tribe from the Vikings. And yeah, one of the head Viking is played by Clancy Brown, who, impressively enough, does not speak a lick of English in this movie. He speaks entirely in like, I believe, Norse, which I think is really impressive. When an American actor can like actually, you know, play a character and not speak any English, I think that's impressive.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I was impressed. Yeah, that's an impressive thing for him to do, you know?
Now,
I think he's a good actor.
Now, even though he's a good actor, the character is, you know, nothing, because he's just this generic evil Viking character. Like
that's his character. I know there's nothing to the characters of this movie. The main guy is just some guy. I think his dad was like some evil Viking who killed a bunch of people.
Yeah, and for some reason he's the only Viking with any empathy or sympathy. It's like, okay,
that's weird.
Yeah. And, out of all the Vikings in all of history, he's the first one to be empathetic of Native Americans. It's like, okay,
I guess so. And
how convenient.
And then there's a girl that he falls in love with.
Yeah,
and they have no chemistry.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
absolutely no. It was so forced. I was genuinely like.
So the actress is played by Moon Bloodgood. I think that's her name. She was in like Terminator Salvation. Moon Bloodgood, what a name. And she plays her character's name is Starfire, which kind of threw me for a loop. Yeah, well, I was just like, is that look, I'm not at all knowledgeable in proper Native American names. Maybe that is a very famous Native American name. I don't know. My experience, when I think Starfire, I think Teen Titans. So that's just exactly. I don't know. Anyway, so Carl Urban falls in love with her just because she's the main female lead.
Because the movie needs to happen.
Oh my god, it was so blatant how like he just like kisses her and then they have sex and you're just like,
they had like one interaction. Not even an interaction. I swear, it was barely an interaction there. It was like just a single conversation. It's so stupid.
It was like so blatant. It's again similar to how Norbit is like, you know, the pinnacle of stereotypical badly aged 2000s movies. This movie basically, you know how like the stereotype is like, oh, back in the day, like, oh, the man and the woman have to be together even though they share no chemistry. It's like, you know, that doesn't happen as often that I think people give it credit for. But this is an example of that, because this does, they literally share no chemistry. They just start kissing each other, and you're just like, where is this coming from?
Yeah, I don't even know who this girl is. I know nothing about her. I barely know anything about the guy. I just know that he's the son of a Viking. That's his character. That's all he is.
He's the white guy in a tribe of Native Americans. It's like, okay, that's not enough. Like, just because he looks
effort
different.
to the story here.
Zero effort. They put effort in the effects in making like the gore look convincing, except when they don't. There is actually an example I wanted to bring up of like where the blood looked very unconvincing. Because so one of the first scenes, or one of the earlier scenes of Vikings, pillaging a Native American tribe, there is that scene where like they come in and like, some guy gets a mace to the back of his head and like blood explodes out of the back of his head. Some guy gets an arrow shot through the back of his head and it comes out his eye. Several people get their arms chopped off. There's this one guy who gets his entire head chopped off. And then when his head lands on the ground, the eyes open up. It's like, okay, that's cool. I like that. But then there's one scene, there's like one shot of blood that does look very unconvincing. And it's when Carl Urban and Starfire are like setting up Home Alone traps in the middle of the woods for the Vikings. And there's this one tree with like spikes. There's like a tree branch with spikes on it. And it like whips out and like slices a dude in the neck. And the blood looks like an After Effects plugin. It looks like the creators like downloaded a blood splat green screen off of YouTube and just keyed it and put it in the movie. Like that's what it looks like. Like it looks like a kind of effect I would have in like my YouTube poops back in the day. It's that bad. Like it's not.
There's also a weirdly edited sequence with a bear that shows up.
Yeah.
It's like the only time I kind of laughed because how awkwardly it was like the whole thing was staged.
Because the camera like zooms in on the bear's face and you have no idea how far it is from the other characters.
No, like you don't know where the fuck this bear is in the scene. Like
the directing in those scenes are awful. Yeah, and then the Pathfinder character is just like, he takes a spear and like stabs the bear and like uses and like stabs him, and you're just like, okay, that was weird. Which the Pathfinder I want to mention is played by a Native American actor, Russell Means, who is in Thomas and the Magic Railroad, funnily enough. I mean, most people would probably know him as the voice of Pocahontas' dad in Pocahontas, but I know him because he was Billy Two Feathers in Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
Interesting.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Oh God, what else is there?
But yeah, let's talk about the Vikings themselves. Again, they're portrayed about as well as the French are portrayed in the movie Prey, where they have no character.
That's true.
They're just the evil white men. It's like, okay, that's fine.
This movie did kind of remind me of Prey in some instances.
Yeah, no, I same with me. I was like watching through this and I don't want to compare this to Prey, but this is a little like Prey. I felt like, I know people really like Prey, but I think I like this a tiny bit more because I felt because I felt like the gore was a little more convincing. At least here, like, again, there was that one part where like the tree branch slices the guy's neck and like the blood looks super unconvincing. But other than that, the blood and gore looks pretty convincing. Whereas in Prey, that movie felt more like a PG-13 movie that they put in. It was like that one tree branch scene with like the plug-in blood, but that was the whole movie. Like that's where like, the blood felt very CGI-ish, where like every time a character like was like hit or sliced, that they plugged in this CGI blood, and it's like, okay, you could have cut that out and it would be a PG-13 movie. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so blatantly terrible. I'm not a big fan of Prey. I'm not a big fan of Pathfinder either, but
Yeah, I'm not huge into Prey either, if I'm being honest, but I think I like that movie a bit more.
I can get that though. I can see that though, because there are moments with the Predator in that movie, which I wish it was better though, but
Same. But anyways, back to this movie.
Back to Pathfinder.
I don't know, another scene I joined was the climax where all the Vikings have to tie themselves to like
Yeah, so
to each other to get up the hill.
so the
And I thought that was
Vikings
kind of
so yeah, like I was saying with the Vikings, you know, they are these generic evil white men, and it's like fine, at least make them entertaining, which I like Clancy Brown as an actor, and I like this one Viking who like gets his eye sliced out from Carl Urban. Um which and then you have like a scene where they're actually performing surgery on his eye and like actually covering it up, and it looks gross. It's awesome. But then
yeah, there's some
that's
like cool gore
but then that's it.
and
Like that's all
going
there
on,
is to
yeah.
that character is like, oh, he gets his eye sliced out, and that's it.
I
Um,
don't I don't know anything about the other
yeah,
Vikings. I
you don't
just
know
know
any
that
of their names. Apparently, Clancy Brown's character had a name. It was like Gunner or something like that.
did they say his name?
I
I
don't
was
think
too bored
so.
to pay
I
attention.
don't think so. I'm just going off of what Letterbox says. Like I'm just taking
Yes.
Letterbox word for it. Like I was just calling him Clancy Brown the whole movie because you know
Yeah.
because he's Clancy Brown. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, and then yeah, like you said, there is that part in the climax where like, well, I guess before we get into the climax, I guess we could talk about the unintentionally hilarious scenes throughout this movie.
Sure.
Because I really want to talk about, because there's several I want to talk about, and the climax is included with them. But like, so early on in the movie, when Carl Urban is like fighting the Vikings, which first of all, he's spent 15 years with this Native American tribe, and he gets his sword play by just slicing water. Like there's that scene where like he's like slicing like the river when he's like practicing sword fighting,
Yeah, that's weird.
and
He
like
he
that.
just
But that,
knows all this stuff, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I guess because he was like 7 when he was abandoned by his family. But then it's like, okay,
I
that
guess
doesn't.
that's true.
But like he was 7, he wasn't like a swords aficionado, and then
Yeah,
all of a
was he
sudden,
still like doing that type of stuff
well,
like
that's what I'm saying
throughout
is
the
like
years?
just like throughout the years, he's like what slicing the river with his sword, and then all of a sudden, when he starts fighting the Vikings, he knows exactly how to fight them, even though these are Vikings who use their swords on a daily basis, and yet this one guy who sliced river water for 15 years is kicking their ass. It's like
Yeah.
with a sword. If he was using Native American weaponry, like the stuff that they had, then I'd get it. But he doesn't. So like, what is like? What are you doing here? Anyway, so he's fighting off the Vikings, and then to escape from them, he gets on his shield and sleds down a mountain.
Oh yeah.
And then the Vikings just so happen to have sleds on standby, and they chase after him. And it's so lame because it's not even filmed in an exciting way. It's filmed in a way that it looks like they're going like 10 miles an hour down the side of this
Wait.
mountain.
Now that I think about I don't think I remember that.
You don't remember the sledding scene? Oh my
I
god.
swear I don't know if I was just zoning out
I
or
mean,
something
you
or
probably
like
were. Yeah, no, it's so stupid, but I loved it. So, but yeah,
or if the movie was just overly dark, that might have had something to do with
maybe,
it.
even though it was probably pretty dark, which is ironic because it was a snowy backdrop. You'd think it would be lit better because it's snow and it's bright white, but nope. But anyway, yeah, it's so goofy. But there's this one shot where like a Viking with a skull mask. First of all, Lamau, a skull mask. Like it looks so stupid. And he crashes into a tree stump. And my understanding is either he saw it coming and didn't move out of the way, or he didn't see it coming because of his stupid skull mask covering his eyes. Either way, that's hilarious that like the skull mask just crashes into a fucking tree stump and he's defeated. Like
Yeah.
But anyway, that sledding scene is so stupid, but you know, in a movie we're supposed to take seriously. Like that's just so goofy. But then there's that scene where he's like, again, like I said, he was setting up all those Home Alone traps for the Vikings, and then so the tribe that he's trying to protect comes back to try and fight the Vikings, and they all fall into his big spike trap. like that
oh
was
yeah, I remember that moment.
like that was funny because then the Vikings are like, kill them, and then they just start stabbing them as they're like in the spikes, and it was
not to mention the slow-mo and like
slow-mo.
scenes like that really makes certain scenes like the slow-mo in this movie is so stupid.
It's so stupid because it's just like, okay, like you're making it slow-mo to make it more dramatic, but they're literally falling for a Looney Tunes gag where they like fall into like a fucking spike trap, and then they're just like, wow. It's like, this is so ridiculous. Again, so funny. But then, okay, so yeah, now we can talk about the climax. Sorry, I just wanted to mention those other two comedic scenes because the climax is also really funny because
just the scene with like, so basically the guy like gets like a rope thing and then just throws it at one of the guys, and then they just all fall down like dominoes, and then they all just and then another thing that I found funny that happens is that the guy starts an avalanche by yelling. So he's yelling.
Yeah, so yes, he's like, he tells people to like tie themselves to a rope so then they can all like then they can rock climb up this mountain. And then he like throws a pebble at like the skull mask guy, the same skull mask guy who hit this tree stump, and he just falls down comedically. And then they starts a chain reaction where all the Vikings start falling down.
Yeah, that's like the main funny moment I remember of the movie.
Yeah, again, the comedic timing in this movie is so accidentally impressive. It's like, oh my god, it couldn't be intentional because the rest of the movie is so not funny because it's so dreary and serious.
Yeah.
But it just makes that all the more impressive. And then he's fighting Clancy Brown's character, and they're yelling, and then he yells to start an avalanche, even though he was already yelling beforehand. But I guess he's yelling louder, like...
I don't know.
I don't like it. It doesn't make it clear that he's yelling louder. Like, it's just like he's yelling about the same decibel that he was yelling before, but I guess now because this is the part of the climax where the avalanche starts happening, which I want to mention, the avalanche is so obviously stock footage that they color corrected to kind of match the same dreary cinematography that the rest of the movie has. But and then they also put like the CGI snow. That's another thing when they're in this climax,
CG is very noticeable.
The CG on the snow is so obvious because you can tell that it's not landing on them. It's just, again, it's an after effect. Like it's like a filter that they put over the movie, and it's like, now it's snowing. It's like it's so ridiculous. And then when the avalanche is happening, it's so obviously not footage that they filmed. It's so obviously stock footage of an avalanche that they color corrected. They put CGI snow over it, like falling snow, to make it look like it's in the same shot, but it's so obviously not. It's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. I'm like, was this a movie meant for theaters? Because this is something I would see in a fucking Brett Kelly film. Like, it's so embarrassing.
Did this movie go to theaters?
I assume it did because again, it's from the same guy who did the Friday the 13th reboot and the Texas Chainsaw reboot, and it has Carl Urban and Clancy Brown, who are like known actors. And again, also on the unrated sticker on the front where it says unrated, extended battle scenes too intense for theaters. So like, the versions we saw didn't go to theaters, but the movie did go to theaters. It's just, I don't think it did very well,
Yeah, something tells me this isn't like something that would appeal to anyone because there's just nothing really to this movie other than some decently shot moments and cool bits in the action scenes. But then after a while, you just get tired because the movie just like... That's it. That's all the movie has. Like, the world building in this movie has nothing. There's just Vikings. Just Vikings.
Just Vikings and native
tribes, I guess.
Just Vikings and indigenous people. And, again, it ends with the indigenous people winning. They're just like, haha, we've defeated the Vikings. Now,
hooray.
Now we'll live forever. As it ends kind of like Pocahontas ends, where it's just like, haha, we've defeated the white man. It's like, like, I don't know if you guys read a history book, but that's not what happens. Or at least if this, you may have won the battle, but you're not winning the war. Like, it's so tone deaf. It's so tone deaf. And it's just so lame. Yeah, no, like
it's a very lame movie.
It is very lame, and I am disappointed. I mean, I knew I wasn't gonna get like an amazing film, but like with a cover this cool and a in like the back of the DVD explaining it in such an exciting way. Like, you know, I kind of wanted something enjoyable and fun. Whether or not it would have been good, I don't think so. I was never expecting that, but I was hoping for something fun. And you know, just because I'm like laughing at like the unintentionally hilarious moments, and just because I'm impressed with like the gore and the violence, you know, actually trying to be impressive, you know, these, like you had said, these moments are few and far between. Like, the movie as a whole does not work. And it's why, like, I can't see myself keeping this DVD. So, like, for me, like, there was some fun to be had, but the core story is not interesting. The core characters are not badly acted. Like, none of the actors are doing a terrible job. It's just the dialogue and the story just do not give them anything to work with. And so you're left with nothing. But, you know, at that point, it's like, okay, well then are the hilarious moments hilarious enough for me to connect with it? No, because they're few and far between.
Yeah.
So like, it's the same thing as Norbit. There's things in there that I would respect, but, well, respect is such a hard word to use with Norbit.
Yeah.
But with here, I don't mind saying I respect some choices in Pathfinder. It's just, again, much like Norbit, it's way too long. There's not enough going on in between for me to really say this was anything worth keeping.
A part of me wish I watched the shorter version, because most of the action scenes I just zoned out with. And it's the same thing with Norbit at points as well. But I feel like I remember much more about Norbit, even though I definitely would see that as a worse film.
Yeah.
So, I
agree.
Yeah, and I want to mention, I feel like I thought of like a better way the story could work. Like, it would obviously like still have to have some tweaking and more fleshed out of the characters, because I was just still like shocked with just how little, like how smallly fleshed out everything was. Like, just nothing felt fleshed out or earned.
No.
And I feel like, for an example, what if we just did something like, so it's established that the main character, right, he's his father is like this great Viking, I guess. And like, what if he had to fight his father instead? What if they just made Clancy Brown's character his father or something, you know? I feel like they could actually like piece a decent narrative after that if they just tried with the story more.
I was thinking of that. Yeah. I was thinking like, I don't want Clancy Brown to be the father, because that's where I was thinking it was going. But yeah, when you think about it that way, it's like, okay, they didn't do that, which is fine. They didn't include like a stupid twist in the movie. But at the same time, they didn't do anything with that. Like, so Clancy Brown and Carl Urban's characters, they just hate each other out of principle. It's like, okay, that's not engaging. You know, like, because Clancy Brown does say like, I knew your father. And it's like, oh, we gonna elaborate on that? No, like, that's it. Like, that's all there is to that. Is like, he just says, I knew your father. And like, nothing is expanded upon that.
Yeah, it's like, if they just made him his father, I think we could get like I guess decent drama.
There'd be something
out of it
there.
if they tried more. Something more. Like, these characters would actually have like some sort of like dynamic there instead. Like, you could also just reveal it earlier so we could see the relationship. Like, don't make it a twist, since that would just be lame.
Yeah.
Because
You know? I think at least it would be something, but instead this movie chooses to go as safe as possible by doing nothing, you know, and just relying on like the action being cool and like the gore being enough. And it's like, yeah, those are impressive stuff, but it's not enough for me to say that this was anything worth watching, you know?
Yeah, I will probably forget about this movie as soon as this recording is done.
I will say this is purely the kind of movie I made this podcast for, you know, like I have so many of these random ass movies on DVD and Blu-ray that nobody in their right mind would ever recommend. So again, it's like when Brian was on the Salt episode, when Brian and Xander were on the Salt episode, like, they would have never in a million years recommended Salt. So I had to force them to watch Salt. This is the same thing.
Like, you forced me to watch Pathfinder, and I forced you to watch Norbit.
Yeah. So
everything, everyone's happy in the end.
Everyone wins. except we don't. We all lost. Well,
yeah, because we all had to watch we had to watch both of these bad movies.
Well, actually, me, Brian, and Xander won because we eventually got to watch Ed Wood for that episode. But
yeah, lucky them. They got to watch a good movie after it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good. Maybe next time. Next time we'll talk about a good movie.
Maybe next time. So, well, yeah. I guess to wrap everything up with this, I'm not keeping the Pathfinder DVD. It pains me.
Even if I had one, I would definitely not keep it either.
Yeah, it pains me though because the cover is so cool. But I changed the poster on Letterboxd to the cover. So the cover on Letterboxd that I have. The poster I have on Letterboxd for this movie where it says Pathfinder Unrated, that's what it looks like. I just won't be able to hold it no more and feel like the 3D because it's actually a 3D slipcover where like the outline of Carl Urban and Clancy Brown's characters are like you can actually feel them like they're actually in 3D, like they're bumpy. It's pretty cool, but a cool case can only take you so far. So unfortunately, this will not be joining the collection. It's going bye-bye. So
what a shame.
Sayonara, Pathfinder Unrated.
Yeah.
So, all right, Anthony, now's the time where we say goodbye. But before we leave, please shout out your stuff, dude. Where can people find you?
Well, I have a letterbox where I do reviews every now and again. I also have like serialized and backlogged, I guess, but those things I don't really use as often. So I'd recommend you just check out the letterbox. I also have a podcast called Campycast that we kind of mentioned earlier, with like Brian, another guy who's been on the on this podcast before, and you've also been on the podcast in one episode about Chicken Little and Vertigo. So you can check that out if you want.
Yeah, I'll probably link that episode in the description along with your other links, of course.
Yeah. But I'd recommend just mainly check me out on like Campycast and my letterbox. Nice. But yeah.
So yeah, all those links will be in the description below. But yeah, Anthony, thank you for coming on today to talk about Norbit and Pathfinder, two very similar movies.
It was an honor. Thanks. Yeah, they both came out. They both came out in 2007. That's kind of all the similarities. But yeah.
But yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's one less DVD in the collection now.
Yeah, I'm glad I got you to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and also thank you, the listener, for listening to today's episode. If you want to support the show, give a like, give a comment, listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or on YouTube. That's fine too. Doesn't matter. And yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time. This is the end of the episode. Bye-bye, everybody. You can say bye, too, if you want.
Bye. Just